from the band that I think it was just this raw, primal. They were like, I think it's interesting because then later in life, to me, like when I started learning about some Afrobeat and Fela or whatever, the only thing I can really liken James Brown and the JBs to is not even any American or European parallel. It's really is only like some of some of the Afrobeat groups, like when you see what like Fela created, that to me is anything like an analogy in terms of being just this tour of force of rhythm.
Yes.
That's going on that can just propel music for hours and hours.
Yeah, I think Fela heard James Brown and he heard Coltrane, and he his
and he had his native African repertoire and was somehow able to fuse it.
Afrobeat is the funkiest shit ever.
Yeah.
It makes me think what you said about James Brown. When you think about What You Want, that record starts off with this organ. Is that organ? And one of the things that's one of the roots of funk is organ. The groove homes and
there's all this organ. There's this Chitlin circuit organ music that was funky. You had these Jimmy Smith live at the Chicken Shack. That's that was an album from Jimmy Smith. So you had this kind of this organ playing music that then I don't know somehow then became later on. I guess you had Booker T to some degree, then took that organ sound and had some big hits going. Not playing on a lot of other records on Stax, but then having his own hits.
Because then you guys, Groove Holmes is one of your.
We had a song that was a tribute to Richard Groove Holmes called Groove Holmes. So, yeah.
So you guys were into the organ music. That organ was.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But that was also another thing. I think through sampling, we discovered all this like organ music: Jimmy Smith, Jimmy McGriff, Richard Groove Holmes, and where that stuff lived. I mean, Billy Preston also interestingly, he came from that, and then he was the guy that got hired on all the rock sessions. So all of a sudden he was playing with the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, but he'd come from that. Right. Chitlin circuit organ world. I
forgot all about that. Yeah, exactly. It's interesting because the organ
and the church.
Yes.
Because that's really, I think, there's going to be people who know a lot more than me, yourself probably included, but that would be my guess, right? The organ, the whole thing of the B3 organ must have come from the church, because traditionally in churches you had the big church organ, and you have like the little Southern Baptist church. They can't afford pipe organ. So what's the next best thing? The B3 and a Leslie.
What's really great about that too is that so the guys learn to play it in church, and then then this music becomes the nastiest black bar music.
Right.
Like I have images of going to bars in Harlem with my father, and you hear there's people smoking Newports, and they're drinking cool cigarettes, and they're playing that trio organ music was like the sexy, dirty. Urban, like it's to me, it's just like every bar you go up to Harlem and so and so's trio is playing every Friday and Saturday night. That whole. So I'm so glad we mentioned that.
So it was the grinding.
No doubt.
Music of its day.
It was definitely the grinding music of its day.
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Exactly, and that came from the church.
One more. So we'll wrap up with this. So, funk today. We didn't. Okay. I got to get in the Wattstax.
We had to do Wattstax really quick.
Okay.
I think Wattstax was very influential for me, as many people, because Isaac Hayes was a huge star.
Right.
Wattstax was a huge, it became this big documentary. But then, in Wattstax, like I love actually a couple of years ago they did a DVD where they reissued it.
Yeah.
And when you see Rufus Thomas, it's incredible. Talk about bringing the funk. He's up there. Dancing around, the band is incredible. He's doing his thing. It's that man right there.
And how old was it? He had to be.
He was a elder statement.
Yeah,
it had to be more.
He was on the radio in Memphis in the 40s.
Right.
After the war, so Jesus.
Right. So early 70s, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, he had to be.
The Funky Chicken.
Up there.
With the Funky Penguin
and the Funky Chicken. Push and pull. A lot of hits.
A lot of hits.
A lot of big cuts for Rufus Thomas.
All funky. So let's talk a little bit about now. Here we're 21st century. What is the relevance? Is funk dead, or is it just morphed into something else completely different?
I think it's morphed into something different because you have dance music is kind of like, I think, just forever going. Dance music is forever morphing, but dance music is basically here to stay. You know, to me, it's funny. It's kind of like how with hip hop, they were wondering when hip hop was going to go away. With dance music, then they were like, oh, when's dance music going to end? And then conversely, every 2 years, there's like some cover story on some music magazine that electronic music or dance music is the biggest music out now. And so I think that. But that the pillars of that dance music is funk, whether it's via sampling and taking something old, or it's just inspired and fueled by that concept of something gritty, something dirty, something that's making the audience move and reactive in a certain way that's kind of almost beyond a mind or intellectual reaction to records. You know, it's just the spirit of putting a record on and just having a reaction of bodies move, that's going to just go on and on.
That's perfect. That's perfect.